Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. Listen to Star Wars Light of the Jedi, written by Charles Soule, read by Mark Thompson, and Star Wars The High Republic, A Test of Courage, written by Justina Ireland and read by Kaylor Lee. Available now wherever audiobooks are sold.
This is Andy Gutierrez from StarWars.com, and you are listening to Coffee with Kenobi with Dan Z. This is the podcast you're looking for.
This is James Arnold Taylor, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi. I have a good feeling about this.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to Coffee with Kenobi, show number 394. This is your spoiler-free place for Star Wars discussion, analysis, and rhetoric. I'm your host, Dan Z, drinking One Nation coffee out of my orange Coffee with Kenobi 2014 logo mug, thrilled to talk Star Wars with each and every one of you. On today's show, Jeff McGee returns as we continue to look at the Kenner Star Wars action figure line this week. It is known as the 41 back. It is the second wave of the Empire Strikes Back action figures from Kenner's The Empire Strikes Back Star Wars line, and it is, of course, a fantastic one. So pull up a chair, grab your favorite coffee mug, and let's have some coffee with Kenobi.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first?
Well, as promised, and much, much sooner than expected, we have Jeff McGee returning to Coffee with Kenobi to continue our look at the Kenner Star Wars action figure line. One of the greatest lines in history of toys, collectibles, everything else. So let's bring in our toy expert, Mr. Jeff McGee.
Hi, Dan. You know, I did an experiment. I started showering daily, and you had me on the show a lot faster, so I think I'm going to keep this up.
Well, I'm glad one of us brought that up. Said now that we've come to solving this mystery, we didn't even need the Scooby Gang for that. So today we're going to go through, this is the second wave of Kenner's The Empire Strikes Back line. Another absolute grand slam. I mean, all of these, of course, are great. We're broken records in that regard. But there really are some standouts. If you would, good sir, please share with our friends what the figures are in this line.
Sure thing. These are going to be on what's called the 41 back cards. And again, we only have 10 figures, but what a lineup it is. We have Dengar, the bounty hunter. We have the Imperial Commander. We have the Rebel Commander. We have the AT-ST driver. We have the Ugnaught. We have Leia Organa's Hoth outfit. We have Lobot. We have Han Solo's Bespin outfit. I'm pausing there for dramatic effect because it's Han Solo Bespin. We have 21B, and we have Yoda. And Yoda didn't, I believe he was blacked out or didn't appear on the 21 back cards because they wanted to keep him. They wanted to make sure people had time to see the movie. They didn't want to spoil it, kind of like they did with the Ewoks for Return of the Jedi. So,
oh, that's right. I heard that.
So those are the 10 we're talking about. And this, again, you know, the last way we talked about was phenomenal. This one goes toe to toe with it, in my opinion.
I agree that when you're looking at this, was another in the history of Star Wars and lists at Coffee with Kenobi. They continue to be challenging. This was particularly challenging as well, because there's no stinker in the bunch.
There really isn't. Even the Imperial Commander would, I think, be the one that people would come closest to saying was kind of meh. But even then, I just really like that figure because he's got they sculpted the pleats on his pants to be puffed out a little bit, like they would have been on the actual actor. So I really, really appreciate that little added detail there that Kenner was always really good about including.
Yes, I agree. So we're going to give you the honors first. Go ahead and give us your number 5.
Okay, well, my number 5, and this kind of surprised me when I put my list together. I always like it when I put these lists together and I'm surprised by some of the items on the list. But number 5 is the Ugnaught. And I've never thought of myself as being a huge fan of the Ugnaught, but when I started thinking about it, this is just such a unique figure for this line because, first of all, he comes with a briefcase. I like to think of it as his lunch pail because I was a fat kid. And he's got his smock. I don't even call it an apron because it's more of a smock, is this very soft material, this blue material. It's got a really nice texture to it. It's very soft. I always wanted like a whole pillow made of this material. And it ties in the back. And it was actually kind of hard to lose because it fits around his neck so well. and because his hair is sculpted in such a way it sort of fits underneath it and kind of holds it in place there. And it's interesting to me that this guy has tusks, and he's a little pig guy. But I was surprised. But again, this is another one that as a fat kid I felt represented because he's got a little bit of a pot belly, and I find this guy charming. And as I get older, I realize just how ingenious this figure is.
Well, as always, very well said. Yeah, I really like the purplish bluish felt on the thing, and I like, I guess like with the Jawa, Snaggletooth, R2, but I like how they change the dimensions of the figures to match, of course, the characters in the films, but they still keep their charm and their character and the look of the line too.
Absolutely, it fits in with the line, but it's very unique. But you look at that and you know this goes with Star Wars, even if you can't put your finger on why you know that, you just do. And
Exactly.
he's a little bit taller than R2D2. He's taller than Yoda. He sits probably about shoulder height for most figures. And it's an interesting scale, but they managed to get everything in the right proportion and everything. And the card back on this one was especially horrendous because the guy was really hairy and very off-putting, but the lighting on it was that orange light from the freeze chamber on Bespin was just really nice, and it really captured the figure well. And I think this just does a really good job of capturing who these guys were.
Hairy and off-putting is how I'm often described. So that's
same here. Yeah, that's actually the title of my autobiography.
Thanks again for letting me edit that. It was really fun. All right, my number 5, and I fear this may cause a cataclysmic shift or a fracturing of fandom. But my number 5 is Han Solo Bespin.
Well, Dan, it's been fun being on the show. I will talk to you later. No, wow, I'm going to let you talk.
Talk to me later. Wow.
I'm not going to say much about this one now because you may have guessed it's probably going to show up on my list a bit later.
I have a theory. So when I put it down at 5, I thought, oh gosh, Jeff's going to kill me. Because I know this one is one of your favorites. So undoubtedly it will be in your top 5 somewhere. But for me, I love it. There's certainly nothing wrong with it. I love the yellow stripe on the side. I just like that it's a very, very like senior picture day Han Solo look, especially when you consider how much of an upgrade it is to his costume in A New Hope. And oddly enough, we were looking at the Halcyon, the Galactic Star Cruiser hotel that's going to be at Disney World for Star Wars. And there's like a father and son dressed up in this artist's rendition, and the son has Han Solo from A New Hope, and the father seems to have this one from Bespin. And I thought, oh, I'm totally going to get that if I go to the hotel.
Nice.
But I like the figure. I think I just like the A New Hope Han more, and I think I play with the New Hope Han more, and that's primarily the reason why. And then the other ones that are coming before it have their own particular reasons why. So I mean, I love this one. I don't know that it looks like Harrison any more than A New Hope does, but it really is primarily number 5 because I like the A New Hope one so much.
Well, that makes sense, and it is on your list. If it hadn't been on your list, I would have to call you on the carpet and say where is Bespin Han on your list. So I will accept number 5.
Okay, I think you're quite gracious, and I'm relieved we're still friends.
Yes, me too. So my number 4 is the Rebel Commander. And this one on the surface seems a little generic. And if you recall the last episode, I talked about how much I liked the Rebel Soldier because that's what I want to wear in the cold. The Rebel Commander is just in the all white, and I don't find it that dynamic, but he's got a nice mustache. And the single reason that I have the Rebel Commander on here, there are 2. One is the little scarf that's hanging down on his side. I always liked that because it's a soft plastic. You can turn his head, and it doesn't inhibit the turning of his head because it will bend. But also because this is basically a Cliff Clavin action figure, because this I believe was sculpted to look like John Ratzenberger's character. So this is the closest I'm ever going to come to getting a Cliff Clavin action figure in a 3 3/4 inch scale. So I have to have the Rebel Commander on my list.
I respect that.
And he could carry his rifle over his shoulder because it was one of the few that had an actual strap on it that would sit over his shoulder.
And it was a great looking rifle as well.
It really was, really was. And again, the detail on this thing is nice. You get, the legs are quilted. You can see the quilting on the legs and everything. And it's a really put together figure. It's very plain, but it's a nice contrast to the Rebel Soldier. And I likened it, if you remember the original G.I. Joe line, you had the
I do recall that.
Cobra Leader and Cobra Soldier, I think, or one of the two.
Yep.
One had like a silver Cobra on his chest, and the other was red. So
Cobra
this is a nice.
Officer and Cobra Soldier.
That was it, Officer and Soldier. So this was kind of a nice way to differentiate between the two.
You'll notice when I introduced this, I said one of the top action figures lines of all time, because you know much of my affinity for G.I. Joe.
Yes, I'm aware.
Yes. Remind me to tell you after the show about the Cobra Fang I got and how sort of disappointing it is. But that's for another time. All right. My number 4 is 21B.
Nice.
An exceptionally cool figure. Again, I know how much Taylor likes to complain about 21B's buddy, but
FX7, yeah.
Yes. But this one, it's just intriguing in a lot of areas. It's kind of got that. Obviously, it's not a gas mask, but it's got that. It looks like a breathing apparatus for a droid that does, because droids don't need to breathe. But still, it's got that detached. I can't even think of the way to describe it, but
the hose.
Like the hose, yeah, the hose.
Okay, well, let me stop you. 21B is number 3 on my list, so this is a perfect place for it to be on yours.
Oh, cool.
So we can do a double discussion here.
Well, no, we'll just wait till we get to yours, because then because you'll have different things to describe about it probably. But I like the hands. I like the feet, because you don't really see the lower level of this figure in The Empire Strikes Back. But it's just a very, very unique, captivating sculpt. There's really nothing like it. And again, I almost feel like I'm cheating saying that, because the reason there's nothing like it is because it's a specific character or a specific style of droid in the Star Wars universe. But that being said, they didn't have to make a figure of it. They did. And it's really captivating. This may be one of the most obscure characters. I mean, as far as screen time goes, I guess Power Droid doesn't have a ton of time. Neither does Bosk, for that matter. But this one is even more obscure. And I just always was very intrigued by it. Fascinating, really.
Well, and like I said, this one is my number 3, so I'll go ahead and dive in there. This one, though, unlike Power Droid, actually has dialogue. He's talking to Luke as he's getting ready, and he says, "Good luck, sir," or whatever.
Sure.
But I love this guy for all the reasons you said, but I also love that his torso, they've got him sculpted with see-through plastic.
Yeah.
And you were talking about this being unique. That is very unique. Kenner, that's the thing I love about Kenner is, with each wave, they're trying something new. They're pushing the envelope with the technology and the material, and they're seeing what they can do. And I love that you can see through him. And the fact that the hose disconnects from his rib cage, I never understood why it did that, because it's so easy to lose. But I love that you can pull that out, the mouthpiece out, because as far as I understand it, it was an old microphone that they used, because it looks like an old Elvis mic.
Oh.
And I love that you can do that, because you can take that off and use it for another figure and make it a microphone. And because it's on that hose, you can actually hang it upside down and make it like an intergalactic wrestling match. So if you wanted to recreate the scene from The Mandalorian with the Gamorrean wrestling, you could do it. But yeah, I love the feet. And like you said, that we didn't really see the character's feet in the film, so they sort of guessed at it. And they're interesting, because they're almost like hooves more than feet, because they're just very, like, they're all round and everything. Mm-hmm. But I love the texturing that they were able to put on the chest plate of it. You don't feel it the way you would feel it on the real version from the film, but you can get an idea of it. And the only thing that would be a ding on this character ordinarily is because the face is kind of creepy to me, because he's got those sunken eyes. It looks a little too human. But as an adult, that's a selling point for me. When I was a kid, it scared me. As an adult, I just think it's cool. So yeah, 21B is one of my favorite droids.
Yeah, he's cool.
In the entire line. I just really love him. And again, that was one that surprised me when I started thinking about it. I was like, wait, I actually really like this guy.
Yeah, he's great. And when I showed him to Mason, the hose popped off on the side. I was like, oh no, but we got it to plucked it right back on quite easily.
Nice.
Yes.
All right. That brings us to your number 3. Yeah.
Yep. So my number 3 is a tie. I rarely do ties, but
I never do ties.
I know, never. Not even with your shoes. It's all Velcro for you, right?
Right.
Atta boy. My number 3 is a tie between the Imperial Commander and the Hoth Rebel Commander.
That's a fair tie because they're sort of opposite sides of the same coin.
Exactly. The Imperial Commander stands out to me because this is the first bad guy that we got that wasn't a Stormtrooper or Vader of some kind.
Yeah, the first human bad guy because we never got a Tarkin.
Exactly.
Kenner.
Exactly. And although I do have the Kenner retro Tarkin from the Star Wars board game.
I do too. I just haven't opened it.
Same. It's really cool. Anyway, so this one's great because it's the first human one. You could technically kind of troop build with these things if you wanted to. It didn't have a specific name, although there were plenty of Imperial commanders in The Empire Strikes Back who famously do not last long when they encounter Vader and make him angry, which is very easy to do. But I just always liked it. I like the look of him. I like that you don't have to base him on a specific actor. He can just be a person, and I love that. And then the Rebel Hoth Commander, I love for the reasons you mentioned. I love how you can tell he's from Hoth, but he's very, very different from the Rebel soldier. That scarf is just out of this world cool. The mustache is great. He's got the goggles on top like they all do. But there's something about the white, the kind of the tannish white, I guess depending on when you got the figure, that I really, really like. And it's just a really cool, again, when you're adding humans to this, mythology of the action figure variety that aren't main characters, but they look like they have character, I find that really, really cool.
Yeah, that's a very good way to put it. Yeah, they're not characters, but they have character.
Yeah.
And you're right. That Imperial Commander, as plain as the figure itself is, I really do like it because it's like you said, it's the one, maybe the only human character that we got from the Empire, other than we got the Imperial Gunner, but we didn't see their face. We got them
the AT-AT. The
AT-AT driver. That's right. The AT-AT driver and the AT-ST driver. That's true.
Yep.
So never mind. Shows you what kind of an impact they made. So that brings us to my number 2.
Yeah, but before we get to number 2, let's go ahead and take a really quick break, and we'll come back with our top 2 from the 41 back of The Empire Strikes Back. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
This is Vanessa Marshall, and you're listening to Coffee with Kenobi.
Once you are ready to plan that vacation, whether it's to Walt Disney World, Disneyland, or anywhere you want to go on the planet, be sure to check out MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, the official travel partner of Coffee with Kenobi. Their signature service and expert advice will help clients maximize their vacation time and dollar. I use them for my personal travel when it's safe to do so. I use them for Coffee with Kenobi. And as we get closer and closer to hopefully another celebration in 2022, you can be sure that I will be talking to Becky Menken and the team at MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. There are certainly a number of excellent reasons to use MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. For one thing, their service is completely free to you. They are there to help you, to guide you, to help you with tips on getting into the parks. Where should I go as far as what day I'm going to be there? What rides are the smartest ones to check out first? What are some of the best dining opportunities, whether you're traveling alone, whether you're traveling with that someone special, whether you're traveling with your family or just with a bunch of your friends? They will take care of you. They are an amazing, amazing service. I cannot recommend them enough. Again, I use them for both my personal travel as well as for everything we do at Coffee with Kenobi. And I will certainly be using them for future trips to Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser one day, and so many more exciting opportunities. So whether you're going to go to Disney World, whether you're going to go to somewhere else on the planet, and hopefully someday Disneyland when that opens, MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, the Coffee with Kenobi travel partner, is your one-stop shop. If you have any questions, be sure to ask me or go to our travel affiliate link, which can be found on our webpage, in the show notes, or all over social media. Thank you so much. You will have the best time, and please let us know about your great experiences with MEI and Mouse Fan Travel. Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books but can't find the time? Try listening to them on audio, featuring sound effects, top-notch narrators, and music directly from the movies. Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. Centuries before the Skywalker saga, a new adventure begins. The High Republic is a massive, interconnected, cross-publisher initiative focused on an all-new era of Star Wars storytelling. Listen to Star Wars Light of the Jedi, written by Charles Soule and read by Mark Thompson, and A Test of Courage, written by Justina Ireland and read by Kaylor Lee. Visit penguinrandomhouseaudio.com/coffee with Kenobi to listen to clips and find your next listen, or buy now wherever books and audiobooks are sold. We are back to our top 2 from this wave, the second wave of the Kenner The Empire Strikes Back action figure list. When I was preparing this, I started thinking about the fact that we haven't talked about vehicles or play sets. So maybe I'll have you on sometime. We'll bring Tom in too, because he's a huge Kenner collector, and I think the three of us would have fun talking about those.
Oh yeah, there's a lot to talk about there as well.
For sure. All right, buddy. Let's have your number 2.
My number 2, and I'll be surprised if this doesn't show up on your list in either number 2 or number 1, but it's Yoda. Because Yoda. This was the smallest figure we'd gotten up to this point, and I think Wicket may be about the same size. He may actually be a little bigger. Yoda is tiny, but they packed a lot of detail into this thing. First off, his head, they got a lot of texture on his head. It looks like the figure, looks like the puppet from the film. The ears are sculpted in such a way that one is sort of leaning forward just a little bit. He's got that awesome soft goods cloth robe that he wears. He's got a belt that goes around it that has a ton of detail on it. It's got the little light that he stole from Luke Skywalker on there. He's got his gimmer stick, and he's got a snake, and the snake would fit around his neck. This guy was packed with so many accessories, but he hewed to my rule that he didn't have more accessories than he could carry. And the great thing was, when you took the robe off, he's got this brown like jumpsuit on, basically, that has a little rope tie around it, but they actually sculpted a hump onto his back. So this guy was everything a Yoda figure should have been. And I personally don't think that they have bested this sculpt since. I don't think any of the newer figures have the charm of this figure. And they don't work as well. This just feels like Yoda to me.
Do you have the retro Empire Strikes Back Yoda?
I do.
Yeah. And do you find it to be pretty similar?
Oh, actually, no, I don't. I was thinking the Gentle Giant. Sorry. I was thinking the Gentle Giant retro. No, I do not have that one. So I've not even seen it, but I assume it probably looks fairly similar. Do you have it?
Of course. Yeah, I'll send you a picture of it.
Okay.
It looks remarkably similar. My number 2 is Yoda.
Okay.
I love it when we tie like this. That kind of rarely happens as far as the same line. But yeah, I mean, like you said, it's just, I keep saying these things are charming or endearing, but this line particularly is just fantastic. It captures the whimsy that is Yoda that we forget about in the prequels, for good reason, because it's a very different universe at that time, structurally and just through the making of the films themselves. But, the Stuart Freeborn thing is very much intact. The snake wraps perfectly around him. He's got his glimmer stick, and he just looks like the charming Yoda. And I agree, no sculpt has come close. And part of it, I think, is because I've liked this one so much for so long that nothing's going to live up to that. And while it's hard to make a very screen accurate version of him, I feel like surprisingly this one comes remarkably close for the Kenner line. And that's not a knock on the Kenner line, but this one really does come close to some of the close-up shots of Yoda as a puppet in The Empire Strikes Back.
Absolutely. It feels like Yoda. Even if it doesn't look exactly like him, it feels like Yoda. I didn't even mention his feet. He's got these adorable feet with the 3 toes, and they sculpted toenails onto the toes. It's remarkable.
And then when I got the Gentle Giant Christmas version of this one, that was, what is it, 6th scale or something like that?
Yeah, it's a 1/6 scale, yeah.
Yeah, that cemented it for me, because I got to really get a good close-up of his eyes, which have a lot of character and clearly are not the color of his eyes in the films. But nevertheless, it's just really great. And like we've talked about, the fact that he's so small, but there's still so much detail and wallop in him is just out of this world great. So I'm such a big fan.
Me too.
So I'm glad. So apparently our number 2 is only going to be the only tie we have, because I'm pretty sure, since I already gave my list, that your number 1 is going to be different than mine. But go ahead.
I'm pretty sure
I've been
it
waiting
is.
for this moment for a while.
Had this figure if this figure did not exist, Yoda would have very easily been my number one. But this figure does exist. This is my favorite, not only my favorite action figure of all time, this is my favorite toy of all time. And of course, talking about Bespin Han Solo. Bespin Han Solo has always been my favorite. He's the only one that I was ever allowed to buy twice because I broke the arm off of the first one I had. My brother glued it back on, but he glued it back on stuck out in front of him so that he could sit in the Millennium Falcon. This is the first figure and one of the only vintage figures that I bought on card as an adult. It was the very first one I bought because I just wanted to have one on my wall like I had when I was a kid. I love everything about this figure. This, to me, in the same way that Yoda feels like Yoda, this feels like Han Solo. You mentioned that the likeness isn't any better than the one we got in the Star Wars line, the A New Hope line. But I would beg to differ just because his hair is parted down the middle, just like it is in the movie.
That's true. That's true.
The only knock that I have on this figure is the fact that his pants and his boots are light brown when the pants should have been dark brown and the boots should have been black. But that's something we see that's pretty common with Star Wars figures, with the Kenner figures. The feet will be the same color as the pants. But I love everything about this guy. The jacket, this is the coolest version of the coolest character to ever live. And I love that they got the color of the jacket just right, that dark navy blue. His shirt even has a line going across the front like his shirt in the movie did. They went to the trouble to paint the belt buckle, which is roughly the same color as the shirt. Not entirely screen accurate, but it's a nice little splash of color in the middle there to break up the monotony of the brown on his pants. And they did go through and paint the yellow checkered or yellow broken lines down, stripes down the side. The only other quibble I have is the fact that he came with a Bespin blaster instead of the Han Solo blaster, and never saw him use this type of blaster. But I can deal with it. This is, without a doubt, again, my favorite toy of all time. In fact, the one that I have on card, it hadn't even been punched. The peg hole had not even been punched on it. Still had the price tag, $2.79 from the store that it was originally purchased at, but that hole had not been punched.
You kept the price tag on? Yes.
Of course, yeah.
Good.
I paid $79 for it. What, 21 years ago?
Worth it.
Absolutely worth it.
That's great.
That is my favorite toy of all time. So it's obviously my favorite action figure of all time. I will forgive you for it not being your number 5. I will thank you for making it your number 5. So we had enough space in between the two that the listeners might have forgotten everything you said, and they can just focus on what I'm saying now.
The tension just had enough time to leave the room.
Right.
I've always known this is your number one figure, and I've always wondered. I knew some of this, but I always wondered if there was some sort of a sentimental reason. The guy, knowing you, as empathetic and good-hearted as you are, I kind of thought there would be an emotional component.
You would think so, but there's really not. This is Han Solo has always been like the epitome of cool to me. And I think I've said, I don't know if I've said on this show, but I've said on other shows before, when I was a kid, I deluded myself into believing that the Star Wars films were Han Solo's stories and Luke Skywalker was just a supporting character.
Well, I mean,
that's how easily deluded, self-delusional I was.
You could make an Empire, I think, to a degree.
It is, yeah, absolutely. And that section in Empire is my favorite part of any Star Wars film, that interplay between he and Princess Leia. Right. So yeah, there's really not any other story to it other than it's just always been my favorite and will always be my favorite. And again, the fact that it was the only figure I was ever allowed to buy twice, tells you how much my mom knew that it meant to me.
I love that. In the Black Series version, the carded Empire Strikes Back, sort of vintage style one of the Bespin Han Solo is tremendously cool. I mean, it's so Harrison Ford like. It's uncanny. It's just great. So yeah.
I'll have to take a closer look at it. I haven't actually looked at it because typically anytime they've done this figure since, I have been very let down by it.
This one I liked just because it looked like Harrison so much. It was uncanny. Although I didn't really love how the feet move, but that's a story for another time. So great. That's fantastic. All right. So my number one has not come up yet. I'm a little shocked by this.
Is your
You want
number
to
one?
guess?
I'm guessing Dengar.
No.
Oh,
Dengar would be like if there was a list of your top 100 favorites, he'd probably be like in the 200s for me.
poor Dengar. He gets no respect. But yeah, it's a tough figure. It's not that it's a bad figure. It's just it's a tough character.
That's cool. It looks like
So,
he's kind of built like a linebacker with
he
those
is, yeah.
stuff. No, my number one is the at driver.
Ah, okay. That was gonna be my second choice.
I mean, are you kidding me? Look at that thing. Look at that helmet.
It's a cool figure.
Yeah.
This figure is cool. Even he's so cool that he even overcomes the fact that he only has 4 points of articulation.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. He drives the AT-AT. He can park anywhere he wants. And when you see him in The Empire Strikes Back for that split second, your breath is taken away. Wow, look at how cool that is. That was always a highlight for me, seeing this film in the theaters, and I saw it many, many, many times in the theaters, as so many of us did. But seeing that, it was just great. The card was cool because you couldn't really place where that was in the movie because it was probably just some sort of an action, some sort of a promo still or what have you. But the helmet is just great, and it's much, much more bulky than a regular Stormtrooper helmet. It just appears to be like it's got much more heft to it. He's basically just wearing like a bodysuit. So there's nothing special there. But I've always thought this figure was about as cool as it gets. A variation of the Stormtrooper design. Now the third Stormtrooper in the line behind the regular Stormtrooper and the Snowtrooper. But to me, when we do like a top 5 of this entire line period, it's definitely going to be in there for me because it's just
Wow.
that fantastic looking.
No, it is a great figure. The thing and this is a weird thing, but the thing I love most about that figure is the black part of his chin is ridged.
Yeah.
It's textured. There's like 3 ridges there. They took the time to go in and sculpt that in because that's what it looks like in the photo, in the reference photo. Mm-hmm. And he's another one that has a rifle that will go over his shoulder as well.
That's right. In fact, on my display, I've got them sitting next to each other.
Nice.
Yep.
That's surprising, but
really?
But it makes sense. That is a great figure.
I'm such a huge sucker for Stormtrooper armor. I just can't get enough of it. So yeah, it's if you're gonna ask me to name my top 5 iconographic things about Star Wars, it would be the Millennium Falcon, Stormtroopers, and lightsabers.
That's reasonable. Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
I would probably throw Darth Vader's helmet in there somewhere, but
sure.
But yeah, you look at a Stormtrooper and everybody knows exactly what that is.
Yep, there's no,
especially a helmet.
Yep, and I do like the First Order Stormtroopers. Fine, I think they're cool, but nothing beats the classic Stormtrooper to me.
Agreed, 100%.
All right, so do you have any honorable mentions?
No, I really don't. I mean, I like all of these. If I was going to have one, Leia would be the obvious choice, but that's just because
that's my honorable mention too.
But the only thing I don't like about it is the face sculpt looks nothing like Carrie Fisher.
Well,
it's the weirdest. This is the weirdest. It looks nothing like Bespin Leia. It looks nothing like A New Hope Leia. It looks nothing like the Leias that came after in Return of the Jedi. It's a weird face sculpt.
Yeah, but the hair is cool. The costume is just great. The vest, it just really, really looks like her. Of course, the face isn't spot on, but most of the characters don't really have, or not spot on. I guess the Bespin Leia looks a little bit more akin to Carrie Fisher than this one, but I always like this one a lot. And the snow pants, basically, and her blaster were super cool. And the fact that you could have anything that was Hoth related, I was just completely infatuated with. And so this was definitely my honorable mention. So we tied in the honorable mention.
Well, and I do. The only one we haven't mentioned is Lobot, and I don't want to leave him out. I do want to give Lobot a special mention for his puffy sleeves.
I have a carded Lobot with the Toys R Us sticker on it.
Wow!
Strikes Back a free coin sticker on it too.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes a special kind of confidence to wear puffy sleeves like that.
Well, I mean, just ask Jerry Seinfeld. I don't want to be a pirate. Yeah.
Exactly.
Let's take one more quick break, and Jeff and I will close out the show. This is Coffee with Kenobi.
Listening to Coffee with Kenobi, you are, with Dan Z, the podcast you're looking for. This is...
As we near the end of the show today, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out of your busy schedule to have a cup of coffee with me and for helping to spread the word about our Star Wars family we've got here at Coffee with Kenobi. Be sure to tune in Monday nights at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live at www.coffeewithkenobi.com/live or www.facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi and have a cup of coffee, tea, or any beverage of your choosing with me as we continue the conversation. To join us in the CWK Cafe, which is our Facebook group, and share your Star Wars thoughts, comments, reviews, and opinions in a family-friendly, spoiler-free place that is also drama-free, go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/community and be part of the conversation, talk about this week's show, or just talk about some Star Wars. We have a lot of fun and you'll make some new friends as well as catch up with longtime friends along the way. I also want to thank all of the new and longtime members of the CWK Alliance and let you know how much I appreciate your help and encouragement. If you want to join the CWK Alliance, go to www.cwkalliance.com and sign up today. Not only will you help out Coffee with Kenobi, but you also get access to CWK Pour-Over, the exclusive weekly podcast not heard anywhere else. It's a great way to support and help out the show, and 10% of your monthly contributions go directly to the St. Jude Children's Hospital to support the incredibly important work they are doing to help these brave children and their families. Plus, contributors at the CWK All-Star level can watch a video podcast of CWK Pour-Over hosted by me, Tom Gross, and Corey Clubb. Feel free to reach out anytime if you have any questions. In addition to being part of the community on Facebook, please don't forget to visit our website at www.coffeewithkenobi.com for Star Wars news, announcements, reviews, videos, and so much more. If you have a question for me or just want to share your thoughts on the air, feel free to email me at danz@coffeewithkenobi.com and I'll share them on the show. You can also connect with me on Twitter at Mr. Zaire, MRZEHR, or on Instagram at DanZaireCWK. There are also a lot more ways to connect with me and Coffee with Kenobi on social media. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Give us a like on Facebook at facebook.com/coffeewithkenobi. Check us out on Pinterest or subscribe to our Coffee with Kenobi YouTube channel. On our YouTube channel, you can find Facebook Live video, different interviews throughout the years, highlights of video coverage throughout the Coffee with Kenobi history, and the audio podcast itself. You can order my book, The Star Wars Book, which I co-wrote with Lucasfilm's Pablo Hidalgo and Cole Horton, on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Books A Million, Walmart, or anywhere books are sold. You can also find my writing on Coffee with Kenobi's website, as well as StarWars.com, where I am an official blogger there, and on IGN, where I contribute occasionally to articles about Star Wars, as well as other popular culture topics. If you are considering starting a podcast or a blog, let me know how I can help you get started and make your creative vision a reality. Be sure to check out danzmedia.com and we can get the process started. I am also available to come to your school, conference, business, or organization to talk about how to tap into your strengths and help you bring out your very best. I want to inspire you to be inspired so you can take that first step into a larger world. Thanks as always to our Coffee with Kenobi sponsors, especially MEI and Mouse Fan Travel, our travel partner and your one-stop shop for all things Walt Disney World, Disneyland, the Disney Cruise Lines, or anywhere on the planet you want to go on your vacation. Please go to www.coffeewithkenobi.com/mousefantravel to book your magical vacation and help support Coffee with Kenobi in the process. If you like the show, please tweet out that you're listening, share it on Facebook, or invite your friends and family to tune in and share a cup of coffee with us. And if the Force is especially with you, please take a couple of minutes to rate and review the show on iTunes or Google Podcasts. Every review makes a huge difference and helps to spread the word, and I can't thank you enough for your help, for your support, and your friendship. I love so much being a part of this wonderful Star Wars community, and I can't thank you enough for all that you do for me and Coffee with Kenobi. Well, Jeff, this was, what was it, a month? A little over a month turnaround. We had you back. So there's only one more line, and there's, only 8 figures left in the Empire line? Does that sound right?
Yep. Actually, 7.
Really? So you've got 3PO.
Yeah, go up to a 48 back, and that's it. After that, we go to...
yeah, you're right. Yeah,
we go to Return of the Jedi.
Well, no, I count 8. I count the new version of 3PO and R2, Luke, Hoth Luke, the AT-AT commander, Cloud Car pilot, the black version of the Bespin Guard, and then Forlom, Don't Call Me Zuckuss, and the TIE Pilot, or is he considered Return of the Jedi?
Okay, so we've got the TIE Pilot, we've got Zuckuss, Forlom, Twin Pod Cloud Car Pilot, the AT-AT Driver, or the whatever we want to call it, the other commander.
Commander. Mm-hmm.
We got Pull Apart C-3PO,
And
Luke.
telescoping R2-D2.
Right. Okay, I was forgetting him. And then the other Bespin security guard.
So, wait, so that's 10. Right?
That is 10.
Yeah.
But I don't know how we go from 41 to 48 and we have 10 new figures.
I don't either. Maybe a few of these are not, or it came out in their Return of the Jedi. Maybe TIE Fighter pilots. I thought TIE Fighter pilot was from Empire. Or maybe he was on the Return of the Jedi. I don't know.
No, that's an Empire Strikes Back card I'm looking at here, yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
I don't know. We'll have to get our Coffee with Kenobi scientists on this and try to figure out what's going on. Quick question. What's cooler? The Kenner Indiana Jones figure or the Bespin Han Solo figure?
I got to go with Bespin Han Solo, but the Kenner Indiana Jones figure is a close second. That is a great figure.
Have you ever talked about the Indy line on Talking Toys?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, long time ago.
Really? I missed that. Well, I'd love to. As we get closer to the release of Indiana Jones, I'm going to Coffee with Katanga this place a little bit. I think that would be a great fun.
That's great. Yes, definitely. Definitely. I support this.
Awesome. Well, hey, we support you and so grateful to chat with you again so soon after your last appearance. You are certainly always welcome. Please let everyone know where they can find you and all of your great work.
Well, the easiest place to find me is to go to marvindogmedia.com. That's the website that houses all of the Marvin Dog Media podcasts, including Talking Toys with Taylor and Jeff, the pilot episode if you're a fan of television, the Saturday Morning Supercast if you're a fan of cartoons and breakfast cereal, Bantha Banter, a Star Wars chat show if you're a fan of Star Wars, which I assume you are since you're listening to this show. And you can also find the Star Wars Splash page housed there. It's not a part of the Marvin Dog Media network per se, but it is housed there as well. And you can also find all of those shows anywhere you download podcasts or stream podcasts. Star Wars Splash page, my buddy Matt and I review each week's Star Wars comics. This past week, we had no comics to review. And next week, I think we're going to have 3. So, yeah, they're having a little bit of trouble spacing things out.
Yes. But you're loving the High Republic comics.
Oh, yes, absolutely. That book, the High Republic and High Republic Adventures both are better than they had any right to be.
Wow.
That's what I'll say. And I had high hopes for them to begin with. I had been blown away by how much I'm enjoying those books.
That's great. That is fantastic. Well, hey, my friend, thank you again so much for coming back on the show.
Thanks for having me, Dan. It's always a lot of fun.
This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company or Lucasfilm Limited. It is intended for entertainment and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names, sounds, and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Coffee with Kenobi unless otherwise indicated.
This is the podcast you're looking for.
There's no one here. Move along. Move along.
Looking to catch up on the latest Star Wars books? Featuring sound effects and music directly from the movies, Star Wars audiobooks are the definitive listening experience. Listen to Star Wars Light of the Jedi, written by Charles Soule, read by Mark Thompson, and Star Wars The High Republic, A Test of Courage, written by Justina Ireland and read by Kaylor Lee. Available now wherever audiobooks are sold.